at the prospect of an Andy Burnham premiership, because apparently he's going to do everything differently. Everything's going to change, and the polls are already seeing a bounce, not just at, basically, Keir Starmer's gone. You're going to have a bounce. Keir Starmer just leaving the room, aren't you? Never having to listen to him anymore will be the benefit. But how long that bounce will last is anyone's guess. Mine is 3, 4, 6 months. Give all that. But what do you think we're going to learn today?
Right then, a brand new Prime Minister stands outside number 10. No lectern, no notes, promising a circuit breaker for 40 years of British decline. 24 hours later, the bond market's response amounts to little more than a shrug. One major newspaper calls his big moment mostly platitudes, and even the President of the United States is out there calling Britain a poverty-stricken disaster. Good day, everybody, and welcome back to British Insider, where we break down the real story behind the headlines. No spin, just the sharp stuff. Quick favour before we get into it, if you are enjoying this channel, hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell. Over 90% of you watching right now have not yet. It costs nothing, takes about 2 seconds, and genuinely means the world to us. Thank you if you did. Right, back to the show.
I honestly don't think we're hopefully going to get his cabinet appointments. He must have made up his mind by now.
Please.
Can you imagine if we still don't have a cabinet?
Maybe it's a different kind of governing, and we don't have a cabinet.
That's it. It's a very sort of he has personal rule. Essentially. The challenge for Andy Burnham is exactly as you say. It's that we're hearing all of these exciting spending plans that he has, including reviving the the aid budget to 0.7%, which is 16 billion to 20 billion pounds.
Which, of course, we've got going spare.
Right, which we don't have for defence, but we do apparently just have for this. I think as a bribe to keep Ed Miliband quiet, if Ed Miliband is sent to the Foreign Office.
This is a big thing for Labour backbenchers. This is already a policy for Labour backbenchers.
But this is Andy Burnham. You're never stronger. You are never stronger than your first day in office. You are being swept in on the acclaim of the Parliamentary Labour Party. You're making your very first appointments. If Ed Miliband is dictating terms to you now, that is only going to get worse.
And this is one of the crucial things, isn't it? Because when you have somebody who has gone through a leadership campaign, they will have actually had to suggest their policies and their ideas, their philosophy, and we would have been able to see that, and at least the party members get to decide. I'm not someone saying there should be a general election. I know there are lots of polls saying that's what people want. I think it's perfect to say I would like a general election. I don't think either Reform or the Tories are ready for it, so I don't think, a lot of people are calling for it in the hope that they don't get what they ask for. But also, I want this guy to be tried and tested first. However, we don't have a presidency as such. He's elected by the same as any MP, by just the people in his local constituency. But it is absolutely extraordinary that he's not someone who's been able to be properly questioned in the House of Commons or to be judged in terms of speeches, party conference speeches, questions at PMQs as a leader of the opposition. We've just had nothing from him. The lack of interviews. While I was away, it was great to actually did a really, really, really hard interview with Gary Lineker. A former football pundit, former football pundit and a crisp salesman. That was extraordinary. Now, it's got an exclusive interview in the Times today, but again, no disrespect to the author of that and to the Times newspaper, but it was just more vibes. You can ask someone a question if they refuse to answer it, but I'd like to have seen 10 times asking, what's your policy on X? What's your policy on that? This whole, I'll let you know. I'm sorry. What do you mean you'll let us know? We should know beforehand. And the fact that we don't even know who his picks for top jobs in the cabinet are is also a giveaway. Because again, the two people we're told it's between, and with Fontoin, it was nailed on. It was going to be Ed Miliband, the current, destroy the country one solar-powered light bulb at a time secretary, and then massive outcry about that and concerns about energy policy and tax policy and the like. He's just a full-on loony nutter lefty. He really is now, as they all are when they grew up in a socialist millionaire's home, as he and his brother did. And then it was Shabana Mahmood, Home Secretary, who a lot of people think is very competent. Compared to the others, yes, but that's a low bar. But certainly unpopular among the backbenchers because of her attempts, and they are only attempts, it won't actually, none of this will come to fruition, to actually sort of limit illegal and legal immigration, which most of the Labour Party backbenchers are fully in favour of both, I'm afraid. So whoever he chooses of those two, and we still don't know for sure which it is, it seems to be Mahmoud, but who knows, that would be very telling of what his government's going to do. But in this Times interview, he's saying he's having meetings with the Treasury, that there are going to be announcements, help with the cost of living, early on, possibly even this week. But we haven't got a clue of what this man is planning to do other than wear black T-shirts more and spend more time in the north and dealing with Avanti West Coast mainland Wi-Fi on the train.
I mean, I think there are plans to do some devolution. That's the one thing he seems to be quite keen on. But this is the remarkable thing. And since he likes doing it, let's actually just do the comparison with the 80s and Margaret Thatcher, right?
Like, no, this is the key thing. This is his big speech when he accepted the leadership on Friday.
Absolutely.
Politics had been basically rubbish since for 40 years.
It's a mystery why the nation elected the Conservatives 3 times in that period of the 1970s was so great. But just thinking about it in practical terms, Margaret Thatcher, there was about 10 years of work that went into what became Thatcherism. There was a body of ideas and people. She had serious allies. She knew who her Chancellor was, right? Because the Chancellor is the single most important relationship in government. Yeah. The fact that you could be having plotted to get into Downing Street for months or years and to be pretending to be the tip of this great sort of ideological spear and to have no idea who's going to be in number 11 with you until the day or the day before is absolutely extraordinary. Because you're right, more than any other single decision, it will be the Chancellor who decides all of the departmental spending budgets, all of it. It's
how much you spend on foreign aid or the health budget or on anything else is going to be down to the Chancellor and the Prime Minister. But again, there's no evidence that Andy Burnham knows much about economics. He's actually said in an interview that he doesn't know much about economics. He's a very clever man. He's got first from Cambridge in English, but he's read every Shakespeare play. Well, that's wonderful, and that's wonderful. But I'm not quite sure how helpful that's going to be on that front. But I mean, for him, in terms of Ed Miliband as the big plotter to get rid of Starmer, they'd been mates. He apparently was going to organise Ed Miliband's stag do, when he was getting married, and so they go back a long way. But you know what? If he doesn't appoint him as Chancellor, hell has no fury like a Miliband scorned.
Right. This is the fascinating thing, right? One of the many impossible things that Andy Burnham wants to do is he wants to relax the whip. Yeah. Right.
Well, because it's going to be more collegiate, because everyone's going to
Because he's ordered the factions to stop existing.
Yeah. No factions. Yeah. Because we're all like mates now.
But his view is not. But his view
we're
is
off to the hacienda later.
His view is non-negotiable, though. This is the amazing thing. But that means, Labour MPs criticised Sir Keir Starmer for not being in the Commons enough. So he's going to be in the Commons more. He also wants to be in Manchester in his sort of Mancalago that he's setting up for his presidential.
Mancalago. Sorry. Props. Yeah.
But then, what he's going to find is that the Prime Minister has to go overseas, right? If you're having a heads of government meeting, you can't send Ed Miliband. And if you were Andy Burnham, do you want to send Ed Miliband to hobnob with sort of kings and presidents? So what's going to happen? Where's he going to be?
Prime Ministers often say they don't want to get caught up on the front end. They often don't have a choice when they're at, walls, and as you say, summits, and actually you're doing dealings with other major world leaders.
So he's actually set himself. This is one of the remarkable things about it. Obviously, as right wingers, we disagree with his economic analysis.
I see. Again, I don't think I'm right wing. I think I'm a centrist mum.
Very well. As a right winger, I disagree with his economic analysis. That's sort of a very dog bites man sort of story. But even on his own terms, he's just set himself up to fail. He can't be in 3 places at once.
Yeah, exactly. And again, an Avanti mainland is not going to help him. But this is the thing, isn't it? Is that he wants to be all things to all men, and it's all like the devolution, isn't that great? Again, devolution. How's that working out for the NHS in Wales? How's that working out for schools in Scotland? I mean, it's just nonsense. The idea that devolved power and devolved spending of resources works out better. Have you seen Birmingham Council lately? I mean, it's an absolute joke. The lack of democratic accountability, you're often in sort of one-party cities, as is often the case. The lack of talent. The corruption, the nepotism, the jobs for the boys that goes on in local councils, the incompetence. I'm sorry.
Because Andy Burnham's honeymoon period appears to have lasted roughly as long as his opening speech. Let us start with the economics, because this is where things get properly uncomfortable. Burnham built his reputation on what he calls Manchesterism, public ownership of essential services, moving beyond what he describes as being in hock to the bond markets. Sounds bold on a podium. The trouble is, Keir Starmer himself, before handing over the keys, publicly compared Burnham's economic proposals to Liz Truss's 49-day premiership, warning that abandoning fiscal rules inflicts real harm on working people. That is not opposition sniping, that is the outgoing Prime Minister of his own party handing his successor a loaded warning label on the way out the door. Here's your analogy for the day. Imagine hiring a contractor who promises to renovate your whole house without ever mentioning where the money is coming from. You nod along at the pitch meeting, and 3 weeks later you realise the plan always ends with either an enormous unexpected bill or half the room simply never finished. That is broadly the criticism levelled at Burnham's fiscal approach. Plenty of ambition, precious little detail on how any of it gets paid for without new taxes or quietly abandoned promises. Now, transition time, because the markets themselves tell their own story rather bluntly. One economist described the reaction to Burnham's arrival as being met with little more than a shrug, a deflating verdict for a leadership supposed to represent renewal. And investors had already gotten jittery once before at the mere prospect of him taking charge, only calmed when he promised to stick to existing borrowing limits. You cannot